We have an NHL trade to discuss. In shocking news, the Blackhawks are bringing yet another former player back to the Windy City. We'll discuss the trade coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have a trade to talk about here today. It's not a huge trade by any means, but could be something that works out for Chicago here in the short, possibly the long term. They've reacquired former Blackhawk Vinnie Hinostroza, who's been away from the team for the past couple of years. Of course, he was traded back in 2018 to the Coyotes as part of that Marcus Kruger trade when they acquired Kruger. He spent 2 years playing in Arizona. He's 26 years old. Actually, a couple of years ago, like his first year in the desert, he actually had some pretty good numbers and almost put up close to 40 points. The second year, his numbers were down. He became an RFA, and they didn't even qualify him. They actually let him walk for nothing, which I thought was a little bit surprising, but the Coyotes were in a situation where they just felt like they didn't want to have to qualify his contract and pay him the amount he would have been due. So he then goes on to Florida, where he signs. Of course, former coach Joel Quenneville's the head coach there. Some familiarity. Thought he could, kind of go there and have an opportunity. And he basically ended up being a spare part for Florida, only appearing in 9 games this year, and he has not been able to register any points. So the last year, this year and last year, not the greatest form. It's also not ordinary times either. So obviously he's also from the Chicago area, so it's a homecoming in a variety of ways for Vinnie Hinostroza. He goes over to Chicago in exchange for Brad Morrison, who's a 24-year-old minor league player. He spent his time playing in the Western Hockey League during his junior career and has spent the past 3 or 4 years bouncing between the East Coast League and the American Hockey League. So basically a player who's very unlikely at this stage of his career to reach the NHL. Basically somebody who can be a decent American Hockey League player for Florida instead. I mean, he goes from Rockford to the Panthers affiliate, and that is about it. Otherwise, Vinnie Hinostroza heads back to Chicago. Now, of course, he's on a 1-year, $1 million contract that he signed, so he will now be a UFA since he wasn't qualified last year. He's into unrestricted free agency at this point, so it's a situation where he can go back to Chicago, where he's obviously very familiar with some of the players that are still there, and see if it works out. If it works out, he might get extended on a short-term, fairly inexpensive contract, a piece for them that could work out. And if not, it gives Chicago an opportunity to walk away a second time here at the end of the season if they chose not to go down that road. So it's low risk, possibly high reward. He's played some pretty decent hockey in Chicago. Like I said, his career year so far would have been his first year in Arizona, and we'll see if he can get back to that, playing with some of the Chicago Blackhawks players that are hopefully going to help reignite him here. Obviously, Vinnie Hinostroza is not a huge name, but somebody I'm sure Hawks fans are happy to have coming back home. We know that the Blackhawks and Stan Bowman especially, I guess we could say here, is really fond of reacquiring players. We've seen numerous players be traded out, especially during the cup winning years when they had no choice but to cut salary. They kind of were a victim of their own success when it comes to that, which most teams end up being when you have a lot of victories in Stanley Cup championships, and then a lot of these players end up coming back on a revolving door, and Vinnie Hinostroza is just the latest player to do so. So we'll see if it works out. If not, no harm, no foul in trying it out, and nobody here is to really get any kind of risk involved. So let me know your thoughts on Hinostroza going back to Chicago down in the comments, and we'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.